Suddenly, the door to the tavern slams open, letting in the roar of the blizzard from outside. Standing in the threshold is a traveler, out of breath, with a panicked look on his face. "Someone, please help! My friend and I got attacked up in the pass and separated, and now he's out there in this blizzard!" Hello, and welcome to Tuna's Tales. For Pondering Monsters this week, we'll be covering the Snow Terror, a CR8 fiend found in the Tome of Beasts 2 by Kobold Press. This creature is a demonic snowman who likes to hunt and eat isolated travelers, perfect for the wintry months in your setting. Now, some of you may say that this video is a few months late for the winter season, but I say it's many months early. So, since you have plenty of time to prepare this for when Old Man Winter comes a-knockin', let's see what this encounter's all about. The heroes of our story are spending the afternoon relaxing in a warm tavern while a snowstorm rages on outside. Despite the sudden turn in the weather, the interior is warm and lively. A musician singing about exciting tales can be heard in the background, while the warm smells of roasting meats and bread can be found throughout. The merriment is interrupted when the door to the tavern is suddenly thrown open. Standing in the threshold is a traveler who looks to be covered in snow and exhausted. As he stumbles forward, snow falling off his pack, he calls out for help. The heroes rush to his aid, and he informs them that while he and his traveling companion were crossing the mountain pass not far from here, a blizzard came up out of nowhere. The two of them tried to find shelter, but they got separated. As the traveler searched for his friend, something hiding under the snow jumped out and attacked him. He managed to get away from it, but in doing so, tripped over his companion's pack. He ran down the mountain as fast as possible to see if he could find someone to help. As the heroes listen to his story, they all share a knowing look. Helping people was their specialty. Gathering their supplies and bracing against the storm outside, they set off to the mountain pass. As they approach the area where the traveler said he and his friend got separated, they see that the blizzard has begun to clear slightly. Visibility was still poor, but they could just make out what looked like hundreds of snow people lining the path they were on. They were all in various different poses, and each one was oddly detailed. As our heroes begin to investigate the area, they're suddenly set upon by one of the snow people. One of the heroes was able to catch it leering at them with a jagged smile, while an unholy light began to shine from its eyes. After defeating the fiendish creature, the heroes were able to look around in peace. In doing so, they came across the remains of the lost traveler. Though they may have saved the day for other people that walked this route, there was one unfortunate soul that wasn't as lucky. And that, brave listeners, is how the heroes saved the day from the snow terror in the mountain pass. Now, I'm sure you have some questions,
You bet I do.
So, let's see what we can do to answer them. Alright, Red, what's the first one?
What if my party doesn't want to go into the blizzard?
Fair. If that's the case, then you could try pulling at their heartstrings a little. Have some of the locals that are visibly less qualified offer to go in place of the party. Hells, you could even double down on that and have one of the volunteers ask the tavern staff to pass a message along to his family that he'll be home late tonight.
He's not making it back though, is he?
No, Red, no he is not.
Oh, that might work.
But if it doesn't, then you'll need to be prepared to warm your party's heart with some cold hard coin. Have the traveler offer your party some gold to see if they'll do it for the money.
But what if he doesn't have enough gold?
Well, then just use both of these at the same time. He may not have enough gold for the party, but someone less qualified in the tavern might be willing to take the job at what he's offering, or for no money at all. If all of that fails, though, then the party could add being okay with letting someone stay lost in a blizzard to their reputation. Talk is fairly cheap around a tavern, and rumors can spread quickly.
Okay, let's say the party decides to head out into the blizzard. Do you have any suggestions for dealing with the cold weather?
Oh yeah, totally. In fact, this is a great opportunity to challenge your party by using the environment against them. Moving about in a blizzard would be difficult terrain at the very least, and if you follow the rules from the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide on extreme weather, then that means your party has to make a con save or suffer exhaustion while they travel.
So if they're not careful, then they'll be at risk of getting lost too.
Yeah, pretty much. But there's more that you can and should do with this.
What do you mean?
Well, if you've never been out in a blizzard, turns out you can't see very well.
I haven't, but I bet I could melt the snow with my fire breath.
Well, Red, for those of us without fire breath, let your party know that they are in lightly obscured conditions at the very least, and now perception checks are made with disadvantage. There are also several other effects that you could apply to this blizzard. If you want to do this right, then check out page 109, Wilderness Survival, of the 5th edition DMG to see what they recommend about different types of weather.
Now, what if my party is extra cautious? How can the snow terror sneak up on them if they remain ever vigilant?
Well, as it turns out, the Snow Terror is actually kind of smart. It knows that the blizzard makes it harder to see, so it's waiting off the path to ambush anyone that comes along. It also has a distraction set up for any travelers.
Like what?
All of those snow people lining the path, of course. It's fair to assume that the party is inspecting or even destroying the snow people as they walk along. As they do so, the Snow Terror will be watching and waiting. If anyone in the party lags behind the others, that's when it'll make its move. If that never happens, then it'll just attack when the party seems most distracted.
What about the Snow Terror? Won't it have trouble seeing?
Technically, yes. However, I wouldn't worry about that for this encounter. This is a creature made of snow that lives in icy areas, and since it's just one creature, I'd say it's okay to treat it like it isn't affected by the weather here.
That'll make it harder to fight, right?
Technically not. Lightly Obscured doesn't say anything about affecting vision for attacks. If you want to change things to include something like that, then go right ahead, but be careful with that. In fact, the only thing that will really make combat more difficult at this point is if anyone gets levels of exhaustion on their way up the mountain.
I'll keep that in mind.
Is that all for now, Red?
I guess so.
Cool. In that case, let's take a look at how this all fits together. Well, me and my friend, we were making our way up the nearby pass when this blizzard came up out of nowhere. We started looking for shelter, but got separated at some point, and while I was looking for him, something came out of the snow and attacked me. I tripped over his pack as I ran. It was just laying there in the middle of the path, and I tried to get back here as fast as I could to get help. Please, he must still be alive. I heard him calling out to me, and I don't want that to be the last thing I hear every night. Assuming your party has agreed to help the traveler, they can set off for the pass. It isn't far, no more than 30 minutes, but the weather outside is frightful. This means that as your party travels, it takes them twice as long to make any progress because of the difficult terrain. This should also trigger a con save of DC 10 to avoid gaining a level of exhaustion from the cold if they weren't prepared. Even if they push themselves to negate the slowdown of the terrain, I'd still call for a save for that level of exertion in a blizzard. Once they reach the spot in question, they can start looking around. Once you all reach the top of the pass, you take a moment to catch your breath before beginning your search. As you start to call out, your voices mixing with the roar of the winds, you can just barely see a large figure standing to the sides of the path. As you investigate the form, you can tell that it's made of snow and is in the shape of an oddly detailed humanoid. As you start to look around, you see more of these figures lining both sides of the path. There are about 100 of these snow people in total, and they are all fake, though surprisingly detailed. It will take your party some time to investigate the area, so have them make a check of around DC 12 at disadvantage because of the bad weather. If they all fail, then you can say that they spent enough time looking around in the blizzard to trigger another con save against exhaustion. Afterwards, one of them finds a discarded, damaged, and bloody pack near a snow person. If they succeed in their investigation, though, then they don't have to make a con save and they find the traveler's lost pack. While one of them is looking at this pack and the adjacent snow person, that's when the Snow Terror can make its move. If the PC who spotted the pack has a high passive perception, then they can notice that something around them seems off as the Snow Terror has moved into position. As you start looking at the pack and the snow person nearest it, you're able to just catch out of the corner of your eye one of the other snow people seems to be looking at you. As you turn your attention towards it, you can see that its open mouth is filled with rows of sharp, shark-like teeth, and an unholy light suddenly flares in its empty eye sockets as it lunges at you. From here, it's combat time, as the Snow Terror will try to swallow any creature smaller than it. If it can pull this off without anyone else noticing, then it will take the form of that party member and take its place among the snow people, hoping to pull one over on the rest of the party. Otherwise, it'll hold nothing back. If the party catches on, then it can try to use its horrifying visage to scare the party off so that it can digest its meal in pieces. If that doesn't work, then it'll do its best to take down the rest of the party, but if it loses about 3/4 of its health, then it'll try running off into the blizzard. The party may want to give chase here, especially if one of them's still in its belly. Once they dispatch the Snow Terror, though, they can sort through its corpse to find what remains of the lost traveler. And once they have that, they can return to the tavern to deliver the sad news. Of course, they'll need to make another save for their trip back down the mountain, too. So, you want to make this encounter more difficult. Well, that Snow Terror is a CR8 creature, and that's going to be a hard encounter for a 5th level party. Even more so if any of them have collected levels of exhaustion. If you're worried about it being too much for your party, you can always go easier on them with the weather effects and the DCs around that. Additionally, you could remove the swallow effect of the bite attack and say that it's still digesting the lost traveler and is full from that. For a 10th level party though, this will be an easy encounter, so you may want to lean into the weather effects harder. The DMG says that the con save in cold weather is a DC 10, but you can bump that up if you really want. You can also add in a second Snow Terror to make it a hard encounter again. As for a 15th level party, you can go harder still and add more Snow Terrors. 3 of them makes for a just over hard fight, while 4 total makes for an almost deadly fight. Throughout all of this though, remember that the weather effects and any exhaustion that the party may have gained will make combat harder for them. So prep for harder, but be okay with going easier depending on how well they do on their way up the pass. If you need to, don't worry about having the Snow Terrors run off a little sooner than you might have planned. With that, you can now put your party against some deranged mutant killer monster snow goons. Hopefully they can stay cool under the pressure. If you liked this encounter and want more like it, then you should check out my Patreon, where I post things like maps, NPCs, and full write-ups for the longer encounters I come up with. If you have any questions around this encounter, then feel free to ask them in the comments below, or if you've run this at your table, I'd love to hear how it went and what your players thought of it. As usual though, thanks for letting me talk to you all, and until next time, keep pondering!